Hello, everyone. Have you ever stood in a room full of people and still felt completely invisible? Have you ever asked yourself quietly late at night, why does everyone else seem to have friends while I walk alone? If you have few friends or no friends at all, listen carefully, because today this story is for you. There is a question many people carry, but they rarely say it out loud. It hides behind smiles, behind polite answers. The question is simple. Is something wrong with me? You see people laughing easily, talking freely. They meet after work, they message each other. They belong. And you go home alone, you eat alone. You sit with your thoughts, not because you hate people, but because being with them feels heavy. You feel tired after conversations. Not bored, not angry, just tired. Slowly, you begin to believe. Maybe you are broken. In a small, quiet town where mornings were slow and evenings were soft, lived a man named Elias. Elias was not rude. He was not cold. He greeted people. He helped when needed, but he did not stay. Every evening, the town square filled with voices. People laughed, shared stories, touched shoulders. Elias walked past them, hands in his pockets, steps calm, eyes thoughtful. People noticed. They whispered, "He's strange. He's distant. He thinks he is better than us." Elias heard the whispers, and little by little, he believed them. One day, Elias decided, "I will try harder." He joined the gatherings. He smiled when jokes felt empty. He nodded when words had no meaning. He stayed even when his chest felt tight. But he noticed something. People smiled but did not listen. They talked but did not connect. Faces changed quickly, and behind their backs, tones shifted to whispers. Elias felt suffocated, not by people, but by pretending. He left, quietly. That night he told himself, "I'm not trying to be better than them. I'm just trying to breathe." After that, Elias noticed a pattern. After spending time with people, he felt empty, while others felt energized. He needed silence hours, sometimes days to recover. He wondered, why am I like this? One evening, he sat by a river. An old traveler sat beside him. "You are not like the others," the man said gently. Elias looked down. "I wish I was," he replied. The traveler smiled. Then he said, "Some people feel deeply. Their minds process more. Crowds don't feed them, they drain them, not because they are weak, but because they feel more." For the first time, Elias felt understood. At first, being alone felt strange. Elias still heard old voices inside his head. "You should go out more. You should have more friends. Something is wrong with you." Those voices didn't disappear quickly. Ta returned, especially at night when the world became quiet and comparison became loud. But Elias did something new. He didn't fight the voices. He listened and let them pass. He began to understand those voices were not truths. They were fears borrowed from others. He started to notice small things, how peaceful mornings felt without rushing, how his breath slowed when no one demanded his attention, how his thoughts became clearer when he didn't force conversation. He realized something important. Being alone was not emptiness, it was space. Space to think, space to feel, space to rest. Elias stopped explaining himself. When people asked, "Why don't you come with us?" he no longer felt the need to justify his choice. He simply smiled and said, "Maybe another time," and walked home without guilt. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was missing out. He felt like he was choosing. He spent evenings reading slowly, walking without direction, sitting in silence without checking the time. And in that silence, something unexpected happened. He began to like himself. Not the version that tried to fit in, but the quiet version that felt real. Elias learned that solitude is not punishment. It is not failure. It is not something to fix. Sometimes, it is a sign of respect for your energy, your values, your inner peace. He understood that people who are comfortable alone are not empty. They are full of thoughts, full of awareness, full of depth, and they do not rush to give that depth to everyone. For the first time in his life, Elias no longer asked, "What is wrong with me?" Instead, he asked, "What feels right for me?" And that question changed everything. One day, a young man asked him, "Don't you get lonely?" Elias paused, then answered, "I used to let everyone in. They hurt me without noticing. Now, I watch. I wait. I protect my peace." The young man asked, "But isn't that lonely?" Elias smiled softly. "No. It's careful." After that conversation, Elias thought deeply about loneliness, silence, and distance. He realized something important. Loneliness is not always about being alone. Sometimes, it's about being with the wrong people. He remembered moments when he sat in groups, surrounded by voices, but felt unseen, unheard, unimportant. That kind of loneliness was heavy. He felt smaller after those moments. But when he was alone, walking under quiet trees, sitting by the window, listening to his own breath, that loneliness felt different. It didn't hurt. It healed. Elias understood there are two kinds of loneliness. One comes from absence. The other comes from protection. The first one makes you feel empty. The second one keeps you whole. He began to see his solitude, not as rejection, but as a boundary, a gentle wall that protected his energy, his time, his inner calm. Elias stopped chasing connection. He stopped filling silence just to avoid being alone. He allowed space, and in that space, he felt safe. He noticed how careful he had become. Not cold, not distant, just selective. He no longer gave his heart to people who didn't listen. He no longer stayed where he had to shrink. When people said, "You're too quiet, you should open up more," he didn't feel offended. He understood. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Elias learned protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Just like locking your door at night. Not because the world is bad, but because your home is valuable. And slowly, the question changed again. It was no longer, "Why am I lonely?" It became, "Who is safe enough to share my silence with?" That question made him stronger. Not louder, but steadier. Years passed. Elias never became popular. But one day, he met Noah. Quiet, honest, comfortable with silence. They didn't talk much, but when they did, their words mattered. No masks, no pressure, just truth. Elias learned that one real connection is worth more than 100 shallow ones. If you are watching this and you feel alone, listen carefully. You are not broken. You are selective. You value depth over noise. You protect your peace. And sometimes, the strongest people walk alone until they find someone worth walking with. If this story touched your heart, write in the comments. Have you ever felt this way? Your words might help someone else feel less alone. Thanks for watching.